Welcome to the Flower Prophecies, a podcast exploring all things flower essences and remedies and flower therapy, and how this vibrational plant medicine has the potential to heal and shift our individual and collective health and consciousness. We'll be diving deep into the specifics of individual essences, nature's energetics, emotional healing and growth, as well as hearing client case studies, hosting special guests and professionals, and I'll be sharing my own personal explorations and philosophies channeled straight from the flowers. Through my own unearthing, I have discovered what I believe to be the most profound teaching of the flowers, and I now wish to share with you the practice of alchemizing fear into beauty. Welcome back to the Flower Prophecies. I'm so excited to be back with the podcast. It's been over 6 months since the last episode. A lot has shifted in my life and also in my connection to the flowers, and so I'm really excited to be here again and share from this new energy and new depth that I have been working with the flowers with. I can't wait to get going and to interview some incredible practitioners and individuals, and I'm so happy for all and grateful for all of you who have joined in on listening into the podcast over the last 6 months while I have taken a break. You guys have still been tuning in and listening to all the old episodes and the episodes that are already aired and leaving your feedback, and I'm just thrilled, and I'm just so ready to come back on and chat all things flowers and the flowers medicine and nature and magic. So thank you for being here. And before we get going, I just wanted to share a little bit about my newest offering, which I am opening up on Monday for January enrollments, and this is my self-service apprenticeship. So this is a practitioner training for flower essence therapy, and this is a one-on-one training. So it's very important to me that this offering was one-on-one, because I believe we all have such a unique approach and connection and medicine of our own to come through our connection with the flowers. And so this is very in-depth and experiential. We'll be working with flower essences together, and this is not a training to learn about my own range or any other specific flowers, but more about the medicine itself, the creation of the medicine, and how it wants to uniquely move through you into the world. We're going to dive into so many areas and realms of this work. I'm taking on 3 new apprentices from this Monday. It is a 3-month apprenticeship. It's a deep dive, and I'm excited to share it. And if it feels like it is something that is calling you, please check out more information about it on the links in the podcast notes. Reach out to me if you have any questions. But I'm excited to get into today's episode, so I hope you enjoy. All right, so welcome back to the Flower Prophecies. I'm so excited to be back, and today I have a very special guest, Michele Bumbier-Giunta. Michele is a flower essence practitioner and collector in South Florida. Her work focuses on studying and sharing flower essences from powerful plant teachers. So these are plants that have a significant effect on human consciousness and culture. Michele's business, Flores de Florida, was founded in 2020 and is largely focused on Florida's native plants. It has since blossomed into an extensive floral apothecary that offers unique essences and education. She has a monthly research community, the Fellowship of the Flowers, where members collectively study new remedies to discover their indications for spiritual, mental, and emotional support and renewal. Welcome to the Flower Prophecies, Michele. How are you?
Hi, Abby. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'd love to kick off with a little introduction to yourself and your work and your passion, if you'd like to share.
Of course. Wow. Thanks so much for having me on. It really is a blessing when we have these moments to reflect on our paths. And I love when people ask, like, so where do you come from? And I have to really think. Um, my journey with the plants started. I remember there's a memory that comes forward of being out of high school and going to college and being like, what am I supposed to do? And I was really drawn to environmental work. I lived across the street from a cemetery, and it was so beautiful. It didn't even look like a cemetery. It had these gorgeous rolling hills, and I could just get lost. And I did in so many ways, and found in many ways. So being there attuned me to my sense of place, and I felt inspired. Well, I want to study about the environment. But the college that I was near didn't have an environmental studies program, but they had a horticulture program. So I said, okay, plants, sure. And I was thrusted into this world of plants, but from a very like critical, scientific way, which totally has its place. But for me, I was like, this feels so detached. And so I jumped over to learn about urban agriculture, permaculture, and herbalism through various certifications and mentorships local to where I was in Central Florida. And that just activated me. I was fully on the path after that. I just felt, wow, my whole life I didn't know that being a part of something bigger than myself was a possibility. And when I felt this closeness with the land and with the plants and to the animals too, but I was just always been very fascinated by botanicals. I felt part of a bigger family. And so I just kept going and going and going with my studies, and traveling really opened me up, especially overseas traveling. My first international trip was to Peru, and wow, just being immersed in a culture that just reveres the local environment, the landscape. That's just their baseline. They don't have this just built into the reality of living there. Really, really awakened me. So I think from there, of course, we're fast forwarding and piecing these things together. But in the midst of all that, I met my husband, who I call him an ethnobotanical wizard. He's very, very talented herbalist, ethnobotanist, and being with him really just activated me even more. Of yes, we have all these physical medicines of the plants, but is such profound spiritual medicine, and we need that more than ever. And so we could go any way from there.
Oh, I love that. I love that the thing that really inspired you was this notion that like there's a connection to something bigger than yourself, and that experience.
It might be the Aquarian in me. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Just that notion, I think that not many people have that as the kind of foundational experience of like what inspires you. In my opinion, maybe only it's more so that like we're inspired and then we eventually get led to that kind of feeling. But to have that as your inspiration is like, how beautiful.
Oh, thanks. And something else I've noticed along the way, especially from my husband, who's just an incredibly charismatic person, you can make friends anywhere you go if you talk about plants with any type of person from any cultural background. And living in Florida, particularly South Florida, we have a lot of different cultures down here, and a lot from the Caribbean. And so you can just name any plant that grows similarly in that type of environment, also grows very well here. And we make friends with the cashier, the postman, the postwoman, doctors, nurses, people down the street, the dentist, by just talking about plants. It's incredible how plants truly bring people together. And we don't realize how much a part of our lives they are, and they always have been.
Yeah.
And just, there was an experience once we were at like an Oriental food market, and my husband brought, I think it was some type of really unique melon to the counter, and he was asking the owner about it. And the guy's like, you know the name of this plant in Thai? And my husband was like, oh, yeah, he just, we're kind of nonstop always researching plants, and especially plants that grow in the tropics. And so when you bring these names, especially in their language, they just light up. I've seen people at the bank light up, when tolls were still a thing, before. Yeah. Now we have the pass you can just go through. We would make friends with the toll people talking about plants.
I love that.
So truly the plants have brought me so many beautiful relationships, and all my gratitude to them.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And it's so true, even with flowers, in general, is like we don't really acknowledge how much of a role they play in our lives collectively. Flowers are the symbol that we, and the offering that we use in so many kind of initiations and transformations and, death and rebirth, and we don't really acknowledge just the role they play and the bigness of that. So yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I feel like flowers in particular are ceremonial space holders.
Absolutely.
We think about weddings and graduations and funerals and initiations into manhood or womanhood or anything. When a baby is born, everything and anything, flowers are always there. Flowers are always a gift that is given to show some kind of emotion. And that, when I realized that, I was like, oh, wow. Flower essences for real are way more profound than I feel like they're given credit for.
Absolutely. To me personally, it's like when you look at that and kind of really tune in and witness how we use them in all of those significant experiences, it's like, to me, they're like this really unconscious, conscious to many, but unconscious representation of God and the divine and source and whatever you want to call it, that we're using to show that connection, that interconnection with each other. But yeah, it just is so unconscious to so many of us.
Mm-hmm. There's a book by Tom Robbins called Jitterbug Perfume. I don't know if anyone's ever read this. It is such an interesting and bizarre book. But there's a piece towards the end in which he describes something called floral consciousness.
Yes.
And I've quoted it before and put it on my Instagram because I just thought it was so profound, and it really speaks to this idea of what the flowers are embodying.
Yes.
This emanations of the divine. And when we can attune to that, we elevate our own consciousness, and our daily reality can be elevated when we're interacting with flowers.
100%. And it's simple. 100%. They are connected. There's no distortion between them and their whole consciousness, their connection to everything, right? So when we interact with that, through our own reference points, it opens our own consciousness up to those fields, through that morphic resonance. It opens us up. It's well said. And you truly have to experience it to really grasp and comprehend that expansiveness and that what that really offers, right?
That's a big piece is you have to experience it. I've had mostly male friends say this isn't anything, and I'm like, well, what are homeopathics? They've been used for 200 years. So, and they're like, that doesn't work. How can these things work? And I'm like, you have to one, experience it, but you have to two, be available
You have to be
for.
open to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you need those little reference points open within your awareness to be able to tap into those fields, right? So if you have them closed off, yeah, you're not going to experience it.
It's a frequency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I have a hard time since I've been, especially publicly sharing about flower essences, I have a really hard time with the language. I feel like it's so hard to really put into words the mechanism of how flower essences work, the pathways in which they work, how they move through the body, and even what they are, what water is doing, what the sun is doing, what the environment is doing. Trying to convey that is really difficult. And when you can experience it, the whole process of collecting, making the flower essence, and then working with it and sitting with it, feeling it yourself, that does so much more than explaining it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I try not to, I guess these days I try not to over explain the ways in which the flowers can work through us and for us. And instead, I guess I let the flowers speak through me for the individual that I'm speaking to. And I find that plants the seeds in which they need to explore it in their own way. So
I really love that. Yeah. I really love that, because sometimes words just don't do justice how profound. Absolutely. It's like you can't describe a sunrise or a sunset. You just have to experience it. And flower essences are the same way.
Absolutely.
But it's hard for me because I can be very cerebral and over-explain something. And it's a practice working. It's no wonder these, medicines found me. It's such a practice for me to let them speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, be the vessel so that, how you said, you're channeling the flowers, and what does that person in front of you need from them through you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's all about. Absolutely. So I would love you to share when you think back to those early moments when you kind of entered this field and this world and realm of the flowers and plants, what kind of, in context of flower essences in particular, what kind of stands out as your first true sort of initiation with them?
Ooh, it took me a bit to reflect on this one, but I think the first experience that I had with a flower essence was very profound. I've shared it before, but it was one of those instances that changed, the way that I viewed this medicine, which now I offer to other people. And it was when I was studying herbalism. I was in herb school, and my teacher and mentor, I think we were in the flower essence module, and we had to do, pairing. And oh my gosh, even something recently happened, which I'll come back to. So we had to get in pairs, and she wanted us to, recommend a flower essence for each other. And I was just so skeptical. And I was like, I don't care. It is relevant to me. And I remember at that time in my life, I was going through something, and I, can't for the life of me remember now. It was like 11 or 12 years ago. But I was going through something, but you wouldn't know it on face value. Michele looked fine, and I was happy, and I was in herb school, and I was doing great, and, starting a business, doing something else at the time. But underneath it all, I was really struggling. And so I had this veneer of everything's all good. And I was recommended agrimony. And I was like, okay, I didn't read into it or anything, but I started working with the flower essence, and lo and behold, that veneer started cracking, but in a really good way. It wasn't like abrasive, like I was, a crying mess everywhere, but I was allowing myself to be vulnerable with people, which was really hard for me. I feel like I had a really hard exterior for a long time, and the flower essences slowly worked to soften me so that I could perceive the subtle that I talk about now very openly. Yeah. So that was a big one. And I remember after that, that's when I started making flower essences from where I was living. I'm from Orlando, so I was making Central Florida flower essences. And I was just so curious. Well, okay, this doctor from so many decades ago made these flower essences, but what about these flowers that grow right outside my house? And one of my herb teachers, and this is probably a popular herbal teaching, but the medicine you need is right outside your door.
Yeah.
And that's when I found a flower called Biden's alba. It's also known as Spanish needle. And this is a beautiful little, almost looks like a little daisy. It's an aster. It has white flowers with white petals with a yellow center, but it grows anywhere. I mean, in disturbed sites, along the road, within the concrete, on the side of a building. I've seen it growing. And it had this vitality that I was so attracted in. It's like one of the top pollinator attracting plants in Florida. So of course I had to make flower essence from it. And that essence taught me so much about resiliency and persistency, but in a really healthy way, not working yourself to the bone, but being able to stretch your limits, but in really healthy ways, and to grow in environments or in circumstances, predicaments that might not be favorable, but you can thrive. You can find it within you to thrive and be of service to whoever might need you. So that was another big moment. And then one last one that I can share is when a very beautiful vine was flowering. One of the, what we'll talk about later, I'm sure, one of the plant teachers, the Banisteriopsis vine, was flowering. And oh my gosh, it brings tears to my eyes. Seeing this vine flowering was so stunning. I was just like beholding this plant and in awe of how massive of a stand of this vine was, but the flowers were just so abundant, and they looked like big pink clouds all around the canopy of the trees. And making that flower essence was a really pivotal moment, because that's what catapulted me into focusing on the master plants. It's just such a beautiful memory I love thinking back on particular flower essences, and there's a whole memory that's attached to them, and it's beautiful. So I love that question.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I can feel the beauty in that. I can feel it coming through you. And I think that the actual creation process of a flower essence has so much to offer us individually as practitioners and individuals, as humans, as well as the medicine itself. So yeah, I love that. And, touching on your work in the realms of the master plants. So your work carries both the Amazonian teachings and the wisdom of the land you tend at home in South Florida. How have these landscapes shaped you differently, and what threads tie them together in your practice?
Oh, well, gosh, the ecosystem is the environment, I should say, is so similar. My husband always says that Florida is the northernmost tip of the Amazon, because it truly is. If the concrete jungle did not exist, this would absolutely be a jungle in its own right. And so really the plants that cross barriers, or cross borders, tie the landscape together in this really beautiful, it's like a green tapestry, And so many plants that grow in the Amazon totally grow and thrive we live in what's called the humid subtropics.
Yeah.
And we're in zone 10B, almost 11. It has definitely gotten hotter. I haven't lived here my whole life. I've only lived in South Florida for like 6 years. So I can definitely feel just in the last several years that it has changed, and it does feel like it's getting hotter. So, yeah, if civilization ended tomorrow, the plants would be totally fine and thrive truly. And so with Florida being, I would say, an echo of the Amazon, I've been able to work with so many of the plants that grow there, and not even just, the very prominent ones, but very mundane plants as well that I'll mention later our teachers work with in other medicinal context for different folk medicine applications. So I guess it's just a part of our life. It's just something that's like our whole library is all books of the Amazon and of Florida plants.
Did you move to Florida because of that reason?
No, I've always lived in Florida. I'm Florida born and raised, but I moved to South Florida because my husband is from down here.
Okay.
So I don't know. For some reason or another, we found ourselves in South Florida, and it's just such a tropical paradise. I mean, truly,
the flowers guided you there.
Totally. I was drinking coconuts today, and it's
I love it.
It's December 3rd. So, it has, it's truly the land that weaves the teachings and the plants and the people together. There's so much that's tied together for me.
Beautiful. So I'd love for you to share with everyone what a master plant is to you.
Well, okay. I have to preface this by honoring the fact that every plant is masterful in its own, right? Every plant is a teacher and has profound wisdom and the ability to teach us and impart something to us, right?
Absolutely.
Plants are wise in their own right just for existing and for being able to turn sunlight into food. That's incredible. So, but I think we live in an era where the term master plant is pretty well known. And so I think master plant for most people means entheogenic plants, right? These are plants, we could say psychoactive. And so ones that come to mind could be cannabis is a very common I would absolutely crown cannabis as a master plant for sure. But do you see the difference in basil and cannabis and what the medicine of those two different plants and the potency and what transpires when one ingests basil or cannabis, right? They're different. And so it's like I'm saying, not to say basil's not powerful because basil's an incredible medicine. But master plants for me are these entheogenic plants. But beyond that, they have profoundly shifted consciousness of humanity and culture. So yes, we can say the very popular master plants like the Banisteriopsis and the Lophophora and the Trichoceros. But also I would definitely put coffee and camellia and rice and wheat and sugar. Think about what those plants have done for humanity. It gives me full body chills. These plants have made civilization possible. These plants have allowed humanity to thrive. And it's beautiful. And so my term or my definition of master plants is a little bit more extended than the popular culture.
I love that.
But it includes, the entheogenic, high alkaloid containing plants for sure. Like the glory that's behind me.
Yes, I love it. And so I guess I would ask them, what have these sort of visionary plants taught you about this way of the medicine, the subtle way of the medicine that has shifted your understanding of healing? Or even just of using, these plants for their effects.
I think the plants themselves have, taught me so many invaluable lessons about what it means to be human, what it means to be in right relationship to the other humans around me, to the land that I live on, to the plants that I engage with, to the animals I tend to. But their subtle preparations of flower essences have taught me that healing doesn't need to be brutal. Sometimes we really need that though.
Yeah.
And we need a full cleansing and purification. And I totally honor that. And in many cases, that's what's warranted. And a lot of the times we can work with the spirit of these plants through their flower essences and receive energetically really similar medicine from them, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I love that notion that it doesn't have to be brutal. And I also find that while they're subtle, they're so powerful, but also we get to, because of working with them in this way and in this nature, we get to be able to find the joy in the process of that. We get to be able to find, the flow and the freedom in the process of unearthing all of these layers of ourselves,
Lots of times in order to unearth something, it means the initial instance was traumatic or difficult to begin with. And sometimes we don't need to unearth it again in those ways or re-experience it in the way that oftentimes these really powerful entheogenic plants allow us to do.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's warranted, but there are times when we still need that plant's spirit. And that's what working with their essences has taught me, is that the spirit of these plants, it's themselves are healing. Right. Of course, there's the physical medicines, which are so powerful. And there's so much, I would say, prerequisites that for me are required before I would even work with their physical medicines. Yeah. And flower essences can be taken on a daily basis.
Yeah.
They're very safe. Yeah. Of course, it's wonderful to have a guide, like a flower essence practitioner, to guide you through what might come up. But all you need is the essence in yourself and the willingness to just feel into your body. So I love the flower essences of these plants because communing with their spirit can happen on a Tuesday. So gentle. But like you were saying, gentle doesn't mean weak. Gentle doesn't mean... And I know that you probably agree, when we use the word subtle, we don't mean weak. Yeah. We mean that it's not perceptible to just your average waking consciousness. It's like a channel to tune into. Yeah. Something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The spirit, absolutely. It's like, to me, the spirit that we commune with within this medicine is that representation of all of the elements that live within us, right? It embodies them all in its energy, in its spirit, and it just kind of reminds us of that living within us as well. So it's kind of this experience of remembering that you're more than just this physical being, that you also have spirit within you. You also have that energy flowing through you. Which I think is how it is able to move through us in such a supportive way, because we remember that. We remember our essence.
That's a great way, to say it. There's a resonance, right? Yes. There's a resonance through the remembering.
Yeah.
I have this working theory, this ongoing theory, that plants are saints. Or we could even say bodhisattvas. So if you're familiar with either of the two, a saint is somebody who does the work of God, right? And has been looked to for guidance, right? And how we can fulfill the work of God. And similarly, a bodhisattva is a being who has agreed to come back to earth again and again until all the suffering has been eradicated. And have plants not done that?
Yeah,
plants have
exactly.
For millions and millions of years, and they contain such specific medicines. How does the human body have an endocannabinoid system? I don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So our bodies have evolved to be in relationship with these plants, and there's a way to be in right relationship with them, and there's of course a way where we can abuse them and feel abused by them. Wrong relationship. And so it takes awareness and respect to work with, to me, any plant medicines, because what we're interacting with medicines that can totally shift our healing path, whether that's a flower essence or a tincture, an infusion, an herbal oil, whatever it is. This can physically alter our body, our experience of reality, and that deserves reverence. So part of me thinks that plants, the spirit of, for example, the spirit of the rose that exists, right? You're in Australia, I'm in Florida. There's a spirit to the rose. You can be sniffing a rose and I can be sniffing a rose, and that's the same spirit. I feel like there's a consciousness there that wants to help humanity, that they exist in particular ways. And of course, humans have hybridized and bred plants for specific reasons, but that to me speaks even more volume of what I'm saying, that we have such a deep relationship with plants because they're here to guide us. It's part of their mission.
I couldn't agree more. And I love that theory of that they're the saints, right? Because to me, I used to see the flowers as the medium through which we, helped evolve human consciousness and heal the collective. But then that shifted to realizing that we're the medium through which the flowers are working to heal the earth, to heal the collective, right? We are the medium and they're working through us. So they are this divine being that are working through us. And, maybe, I would say that it is the plants that has instilled that desire to create, our own plants, to bring something through that's new and evolved.
Yeah. And I think about, there's people ask the question, well, how do these people in the middle of the jungle find these plants and put them together and, get these psychedelic preparations? Oh, well, the theory is that, they just put all these combinations in. If somebody died, they didn't use that. And if somebody had this experience, then they would just keep using it. It was trial and error. But that nowhere does that make sense. In no perspective to me does that make sense. These plants have a consciousness and they can communicate to us. And I imagine our ancestors who were so intrinsically linked to the natural world without the noise of modernity and EMFs and, just the static that surrounds the earth now, what they were hearing from the plants that surrounded their village, what they were intuiting, when they would go hunting and gathering.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard to oh, gosh, they were probably receiving insights. Yeah. And sure, there's probably trial and error, but I really think these plants have a spirit and a consciousness that can communicate to us, through us, and probably through the water. You have
definitely
several episodes that I've listened to on the water and the consciousness of water, and that being the vehicle for flower essences. And perhaps water is where our consciousness
I think so.
lives.
I agree.
And perhaps that's how the plants communicate to us, is through the waters. They're the sacred waters of our bodies and of the land.
Definitely. Oh, I love this so much.
I do too. I've had chills the whole time.
I would love to hear from you. So in the decade you've been creating essences, has there been a particular plant or preparation that has kind of transformed you in a way that you didn't expect? I mean, I'm sure all of them, but something that, continues to be a teacher for you personally and I guess profoundly.
Oh yes. The first plants that came to me were the two cacti. So the Lophophora,
Mm.
which we could say the smaller grandfather cactus, and then the larger relative, the Trichoceros cactus that comes to us from the Andes. Both of those medicines for me have been such incredible teachers of relationships
Mm.
and standing in integrity in a way that I don't think I could have learned just on an average day. It was the plants themselves that imparted these lessons to me that totally changed the trajectory of very significant relationships in my life. The wounds that I was able to heal by working with those particular medicines were so deep and they felt so bottomless. And those medicines shined a light to the depths of those wounds and
Mm.
healed me in ways that, yes, those experiences that hurt me are part of my story, but I don't operate from those traumas anymore because these medicines have helped me to move forward. Not to forget, not to say like that never happened, but to say I'm now this person. I'm stepping into this new version of myself and I'm moving forward healed from these instances. So those two plant teachers really have been by my side so faithfully, and their flower essences, wow. Also, what I find too with a lot of plants that are medicinal in some capacity is that their medicinal qualities echo through the flower essence. So one that comes to my mind is Passiflora incarnata, the passion flower, right? Yeah. This is a known nervine. It relaxes the nervous system and it helps the mind with circular thoughts. It's really helpful for sleeping, very slightly sedating, right? So it calms you. And I find that the Passiflora flower essence calms the mind to allow a person to be open and receptive to receiving through their conscious awareness.
Yes.
And it's just interesting how the medicines ripple through. And so I find that same with the cactus flower essences for both of them. There's just so many lessons of love and integrity and uprightness, strength, embodiment that really carry through in their subtle preparations. And those, I reach for those often because they're so potent.
I think as well, like what you're just mentioning, that like integrity and embodiment is like, that's what the flowers, I find, like the flower medicine allows us to do, is really integrate and embody the actual healing and teaching of that medicine. It like draws it into our experience, into our field, so that we can actually have the experience where it is a lived, felt, embodied experience, right? And that's to me what the flowers offer us and is so powerful about them.
I feel like this is why I love flower essences, because they go towards our emotional roots, our mental roots, right? Those things within us that eventually do manifest as a physical ailment. Yes. And so it's sometimes a tincture or what other physical preparation of a plant doesn't necessarily get to those more subtle issues that someone is going through. They definitely will heal physical wounds or, disordered organ systems or what have you. But I feel like flower essences specifically work on those really subtle and fine. It's so hard to put it into words.
Yes.
Really, there's a resonance, right? That's what these preparations are. They're bioresonance medicines. And so they go into where those emotions or memories or thoughts are stored, right? That I don't think a physical medicine can get to.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Oh, 100%. And I think like they quite literally through resonance draw into our experience, the relationships and the situations and the scenarios needed in order to penetrate to those levels and have that sink into the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and then the physical, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. They're so powerful and they're so simple. It truly blows my mind.
Absolutely. So on that, I really respect the way that you work with the master plants and all plants, you know, and especially your intention to honor their wisdom, like while also easing the extractive and the depletive nature of working with plant medicine, especially like things, you know, like the coffee, like, you know, the cacao, like all of this. And this is how we're kind of seeing them engage with today, is on this very kind of consumerist level, right? So I personally feel that this is one of the reasons that flower essences are becoming the medicine of the future, and this potency that they hold, and then the accessibility that they hold, and then the ability to work with them and do so without harming so much, right? So from your perspective, I'd love to hear why you feel this shift is important, and how you see the gentler and more sustainable relationship with these master plants shaping the future of healing and of medicine.
I love this question because it's allowed me to reflect on why flower essences are so important, because less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the world that we live in, we're overrun with materialism and consumerism and more things and more healing, right? Yes. More healing, more ceremonies, more, check it off the bucket list. How many times have you done X, Y, and Z psychedelic? And mentioned there's absolutely a place for those bigger experiences, but what if we scaled back? What if we worked first with these subtle plants to experience the plant's spirit and see how that works on us? And then we can call in these other experiences, because one, that sets us up to be in right relationship to the plant, right? Because we're being respectful. There are so many ceremonies. You can throw a rock and hit a ceremony. And where are they getting these medicines? Where did the facilitator train? There are horror stories out there of people wanting to experience these beautiful medicines and having terrible instances happen to them because there was a lack of integrity. And I feel like flower essences allow the door to open. If somebody, for example, wanted to sit in a particular plant medicine ceremony, flower essence kind of opens that doorway of communication to the spirit of the plant, just to start that process of working it. Because why does one want to go to a ceremony to begin with? What's really there? Is it just because you want a fun time, or is there something deep within your soul or within your lineage that needs healing? That's going to be intense. And so working with flower essences gently, gracefully, in an integratable way, I feel like is a beautiful opportunity to honor the plants, right? With not overly extracting them or working with them in ways that are out of integrity. But it gives people the opportunity to experience them because they are they can be dangerous, or it can be inaccessible. Not everybody can travel, far away to experience some of these ceremonies. And another piece to it is so many of these medicines, like you mentioned, cacao, where all of our chocolate comes from. You've mentioned coffee, which is consumed by billions of people a day. These plants have, circulated around the world. They've made their mark. They're going to continue to be consumed by people. But there is so much profound healing within their flower essences that maybe, I don't know, in my utopian mind, that Aquarian idea that I have, maybe we can scale back on our overconsumption of so many of these medicines. And flower essences need very little material to be harvested in order to receive the plant's essence, because the dilution process happens, and these essences can last for a long time if they're stored correctly. And so, it allows people accessibility. It helps ecosystems maintain themselves without this over extraction, and it gives people opportunity to work with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's so much.
So much. Oh, totally. And I think, we all know it. Like, I literally, everything you're just saying, the flowers are screaming through my ears. Like, yes, yes, like it's like hurting my ears. But like, it's just.
Yeah, we don't need, I mean, it's very nuanced, right? Because I feel like these plants, the ones that I'm speaking about, these plant teachers, right? They want to be known. Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't know about them.
Yes, yes.
But I do feel like there's this quality of like, yes, we want to be known. We want our medicine to be received by people. But at the same time, why is there not more of me being planted? Why are we not protecting and preserving the landscapes and cultures which stir me? Why is there not respect?
Yes.
And I feel like if we can kind of shift the boat to helping people to see that plants are not just to be consumed, they're to be communed with.
Yeah.
It's not about consumerism, it's about communion with something bigger than ourselves, right?
And I think as well, we know that as humans, and that's why I guess in some way we are, consuming them in such extractive amounts, and we're like trying to get these things from them because we don't quite understand that there's a different way that they want to work through us. We don't quite understand, like we want what we know they have on some level, we know that, but we don't know how to actually access that. And that's why I think the flowers, like the medicine in this way, this energetic medicine, this subtle medicine, why I think it's so important that we share this, because that's ultimately what humans want as well. They want to receive it in that way, in that right relationship, and on those deeper levels, right? But we've just kind of got, as we do as humans, gotten lost on the way there, and it's turned into something else.
Yeah, there's a lack of reciprocity. I just see, like, you keep using the word extraction, and that's so true. We're extracting from cultures, from ecosystems, from people, and not giving anything in return. And part of the work that my husband and I do is preserving these plants, but also giving back to the people that have shared their wisdom with us, that have shared how do we work with these teachers, or how do we work with these plant teachers in really integral and safe ways. And flower essences are safe. Flower essences are safe. They're accessible. They're generous. They don't require so much removing from their environment. And I feel like I'm talking in a circle a little bit here, but there are so many people that harvest these medicines and they don't do anything to plant them again so that there is medicine for future generations. And that's a huge issue. I mean, the two cactus medicines that I mentioned earlier are both on, I know that the Andean cactus is threatened because people are harvesting ancient stands of medicine for spiritual tourism. Same with the vine, the Amazonian vine. They're being over harvested because people want to go down there and have an interesting experience. But there's now a little bit more than before, but there's not much effort to replenish the population so that these medicines can be preserved for people who really need them, right? It's not about having a good time. It's about healing.
Yeah.
That's what the medicines have shown me. It's not about a good time. It's about healing.
Yeah.
And the flower essences have taught me that you can heal. Start subtle, start here, start in these gentle ways and see what blossoms from that. Less is more. So when we're working with really deeply rooted issues within ourselves or with a client, starting with gentle preparations, I feel like, especially in the world we live in, because we're so inundated with so much information and experiences, giving people a flower essence and asking them to tune in, to connect with their bodies, to connect with their minds, to feel into their emotions, that alone is huge medicine. And a lot of people don't like it. It's too much for them. They can't handle it because we're so used to being inundated. And so when somebody asks you to slow down and tune in, that can feel really confronting, but that leads to really beautiful healing rather quickly, in my experience.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And then, it is like, it's interesting because it's when we work with the flowers in this way, and we experience them in this way, they're teaching us about this relationship to ourselves, which ultimately instills this right relationship to the earth and to the plants, right? So it's like when we actually work with them in that way, we learn about that right relationship to everything.
Absolutely. That's such a good way to say it. Yes. It's not about just right relationship to one aspect of our reality, but to everything, to another, to stranger on the sidewalk, to the food that we take into our bodies, to the water we bathe with. We want to be respectful and honor all of the things on a daily basis that we're interacting with. Being in right relationship is about.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're using them in the alternate way, in that more extractive way, it's usually because that's how we treat every relationship in our lives, right? Yeah.
Such a good point.
Yeah. So you have started a research community, the Fellowship of the Flowers. And so this is devoted to studying the teachings of these powerful plants. So what inspired you to form this fellowship, and what have you personally received and witnessed through sharing this work in a community setting? Because I think it's so important.
Yeah, I started the Fellowship of Flowers somewhat selfishly. I love researching and I love hearing about how other people experience something, like we keep saying, as subtle as a flower essence. Yeah. I want to know, are you also feeling what I'm feeling?
I could not think of anything more exciting to talk about than what we're experiencing between flowers.
Right? It's like, do you feel that too? And I wanted to find the resonance in a group of people's experiences so more flower essences could be shared with the world. So my understanding is that Dr. Bach thought that his 36 preparations was it. That he didn't need to make anymore. No more needed to be made. And I respect that. I love the Bach essences and I use them on a weekly basis myself. And that was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And our world has changed so much and it's growing so fast that I feel like the plants that are showing up for us now, right? Because for the most part, we all live in areas that have been overdeveloped. So what plants are now showing up to where you live, right? A lot of the plants are no longer, a lot of native plants are not as prominent as they used to be. So what introduced species are there? What do they have to share? What do we have to learn from them? And so long story short, I really wanted a group of people to study the flower essences that I was creating because I wanted to contribute more remedies to the world of flower essences. And come to find out, there's so many hundreds and probably thousands and thousands of flower essences added to the repertoire at this point. So I just wanted to study with a community of people. And it's been really, really interesting because, yes, we're learning about these plants, but what I've found is that it's given myself and members of the fellowship opportunities to reflect and turn a light on our own self-awareness and our organs of perception. Because like I've been sharing, our world is so busy and we are so bombarded. And I think that the fellowship offers us this opportunity to slow down, to pay attention, to give ourselves moments in the day where we connect into the essence. We feel ourselves as a community kind of working with this web of the same flower essence. And it's been really beautiful to see how much personal growth has happened for individuals in the community. And that surprised me the most because I just thought, very, I guess very transactionally, I was like, yes, I'm going to get information from these people about herbs. And again, it's the flower essences softening me. I've learned to really listen to people and to hear them and to hear beyond what they're saying with words. Right? And when we're united through working with the same flower essence, you can really tune into each other. So that's been really, really special and something I didn't expect.
I love that. And it's so true. Anytime I do sort of like a group experience with the flowers, like the thing that I cherish most about it is witnessing like how when one person shares their reflection, it inspires and a curiosity in others to go deeper into their own experience and, to look through awareness that maybe they wouldn't have on their own. And I love that. And I think when we do take flowers in unison like this, it actually amplifies their potency and what they're wanting to move through us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because if we're talking about water being potentially the vehicle for consciousness, we're uniting with the same waters. The same waters of life are moving through us and resonating. My curiosity has been is, are we all resonating on the same themes when we work with the same flower essence? Yeah.
From my experience, there's always our individual experience that we're moving through and navigating that the flowers kind of stir within us because we have our own, biases and our own history of how we perceive the world and the lenses through which we experience. But then there's always kind of like these undercurrent of themes that intertwine every experience, even if they seem radically different, in certain aspects. There's always this undercurrent that is weaving through the collective experience.
Yes, that I see that time and time again when we do a flower essence study. It's really, really interesting. And I'm always surprised, and I guess I shouldn't be at this point, but it's so beautiful to see that resonance come to life of experiences that seem very separate. Yes. These are different people from different walks of life. And there's a resonance there, and that's the flower essence singing through us. Yeah. And so I compile, the anecdotal evidence, and we come up with a plant profile or an essence profile. And so I present it to the group and say, do we approve of this? And yes, I like this. So maybe not that word, right? It's like a collective. And so we can look to these essences and agree that that feels like that was similar to my experience too. And it's really good for me because I tend to over explain. And it's really nice to, with a flower essence profile, you don't want to give too much information because it's not that specific.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's a myriad of experiences that can happen, but there is a theme
Yes.
that can present itself if we pay attention.
Yeah, and I love sharing that point of like, yes, there's the theme, and there's the realms in which a flower can work on, but actually it will meet us with where we're at and what exactly we're needing in that moment, of our lives. And it's just so unique to every individual and even every individual practitioner in the way the medicine comes through them, right? So like, yes, we can offer a theme and a realm, but ultimately the flower kind of is malleable into what we need for our highest good in that moment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really fascinating. So the Fellowship of Flowers is definitely a labor of love for me, but it's endlessly fascinating what comes through. And even in our current study that we're doing right now to end the year, even what has just come up for me as an individual has been so epic. And it's like, again, I'm blown away at how powerful flower essences can be if we give them the space and awareness to pay attention, where we can pay attention to our bodies and and the synchronicities that are happening all around us.
Yes.
Then it comes alive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What is one thing you wish more people understood about flower essences and vibrational medicine? So maybe something that you feel it could be overlooked often or misunderstood even about them, but is kind of essential to truly receiving, I guess, their power. And maybe it's what you just spoke to, right? Of being open and having that space and curiosity and awareness to really reap the rewards and gain what they have to offer. Or maybe it's something else.
I think it goes in line with what I was speaking to, but I wish people, and I'm speaking to myself for sure, I wish we could stop trying to rationalize the mechanism of how they work.
Yes.
And how something so diluted can work on me, right? No, I have all these big problems. I wish that people could say, I want to just experience it for myself. They just work. And the mechanism for explaining it has not been necessarily pinpointed. And maybe it has. We're speaking to the consciousness of water. And for me, that feels probably what's going on with flower essences.
Yeah.
But we don't need to rationalize the remedies. I think we need to just experience them.
Absolutely. Because to me, the desire to rationalize is what's going to limit them, right?
Totally.
When we give them rules and labels and identities and place them in boxes of how and why and what, that's what's going to limit them. And the flowers don't want to be limited. They want to be expansive and ever evolving and, continuing that consciousness and interconnectedness of everything. And that can't be rationalized, because if we were to rationalize it, we wouldn't be able to access it.
And humans are rational beings, and plants, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I don't believe plants have that capacity to rationalize something, right? And that's probably really good for humans to work with plants, because we need to get out of that rational mind. Sometimes it's very necessary, and sometimes it gets in the way. Yeah. And so if we can put aside our desire to over-explain how any sort of bioresonance preparation works, and just try it without the skepticism, just be open to something happening. I think a lot of interesting experiences would happen for people.
That's for sure. It's funny because I'm not actually like a very logical or rational person, but I also have like forever had the tendency to try and over explain as well. So that's also something that the flowers are teaching me to let go of. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
It's a big lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this has been like such a joy to, riff on all of this and connect with you and share this magic that is the flowers and our passion for them. Before we go, I would love to hear if there's anything else that you feel like you want to share about your experience, your story, or the flowers, or anything in particular.
Yeah, something that really wants to be said is the importance of giving back to the plants themselves. Whenever we make a flower essence, I think it's so important that we give something back in return to the plant, whether that's an offering of a song or some sort of exchange of gratitude. I think is incredibly important. Giving back not only to the plants and to the land, but especially in my particular work, the cultures in which these plants have been stewarded by. And I feel so blessed to have connections to our teachers in the Peruvian Amazon. And we do have connections with Native American church here that work, both of these parties work so incredibly hard to bring protection and safety to the medicine and these different medicines, and working to preserve land that will carry these medicines for future generations, and even just for the ecosystem itself, right? When we take these plants that are from a very particular place away, part of the medicine leaves. The places themselves are medicine. And for me, it's so important to give back, and something that I'm really going to strive for, especially next year with upscaling my flower essence business, is to give back substantially to our teachers and to projects, to the land that our teachers live on. I mean, for generations, our teachers have lived on this land. It's just their ancestral lands. And so I really want to make sure that whatever comes from my flower essence, whatever beauty that is shared outward from these flower essences, also goes back to the beautiful places in which I've been able to learn from these plants at. So I think it's important that we mention, every flower comes from somewhere, and every flower has a people that originally stewarded its evolution and worked in tandem, as a dynamic to help consciousness grow in some capacity. So I think that's my parting thought.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. If anyone would like to find you and your offerings, Michele, where can they do that?
So I'm pretty active on Instagram. My handle's at Flores de Florida. It's spelled Flores de Florida. And a little fun fact, Florida actually loosely means land of flowers.
Beautiful.
So many beautiful flowers here. And that's what really inspires a lot of my work, is this beautiful state that I call home. And so I'm on Instagram, and then you can find all of my links through my Instagram. So I'm happy to connect on there. Oh, and then of course on Patreon is where the Fellowship of Flowers is hosted. So if you want to be a part of that, the group and our research efforts there, the more voices, the merrier.
Yes, I love it. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to share this conversation with everyone, and all of your wisdom and all of your connection and the beautiful flowers that want to work through you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Australia.
I love it.
The flowers of Australia.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.